we good? Okay. Good. Okay. Good evening. Happy holidays. It is 6:06 p.m. December 16th, 2021. Laguna Beach Unified School Board's open session is called to order. Member Vickers is calling in tonight as she is following the protocol that if one is sick, they're to stay home, and we are very appreciative. Before we start with the Pledge of Allegiance, I just want to say that, sir, I need you to put a mask on. It's state law. Or I need you to leave.
Well, federal law prohibits mandating and viewing medical products, so I will not.
Okay, so I need you to leave the board room. Okay, well then for right now, we're going to adjourn the meeting until the room is cleared and you leave, sir. Thanks, Jen. Good evening and happy holidays again. It is 6:34, December 16th, 2021. Laguna Beach Unified School Board open session is reconvened. I do want to read something quickly to you guys before we go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Education Code Section 32210 states, any person who willfully disrupts any public school and or public school meeting is guilty of a misdemeanor and shall be punished by a fine of not more than $500. Our board policy 9323 states, the board president shall not permit any disruption or willful interruption of board meetings, which is occurring based on members of the public's willful refusal. The same bylaw states that when such disruptive conduct occurs, the superintendent or designee shall contact local law enforcement as necessary. Law enforcement has been contacted. As board president, I just got this from order. I would have directed the person who's here to please leave or to put their mask on, as everyone needs to have when they're inside a building in California right now. Thanks. And with that, we're going to get Izzy to take us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. With that, we're going to move to 4C. There's no report out of closed session. That takes us to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Boyer, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Okay. Board student member can I have a motion as second for tonight's agenda as presented.
Moved.
Thank you. Natalie, can I have the student provisional vote to adopt the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Sorry, opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I'm moving to 5A. Public comment. Is there anyone, before I read all that, do you have public comment cards?
None received.
Okay. Thank you, Clerk Osborne. With that, we're going to move to reports. We're going to start with the highlight of our evening, which is always our student board reps. You guys could kick us off, thanks.
Okay. So this past month, me and Natalie went to the Csba Conference down in San Diego for the Student Board Member Day, which was on the 3rd of December. And there were about 100 other student board members there from across California. But since it was in San Diego, most of the student board members there were like us from Southern California. And we played a lot of games together to kind of as icebreakers and also kind of as a lesson to interact with all of the students in the schools and just kind of get to know them so you best represent the entire population. And then we had several panelists who were past student board members speak to us about their experiences and what they did on the board. And some interesting things that we learned from other student board members by talking to them. Some interesting things they did were one, like instated a student constitution. One very charismatic student board member had kind of lobbied for getting a full vote on the board. And I thought it was also interesting that some student board members had like regular meetings with different groups at their school to kind of find out what they were thinking about the school. Okay, and from the news from the elementary school. So this past month, the fifth graders raised over $3,000 from their holiday boutique sales, and they decided to give this to the Surfrider Foundation, which I've actually volunteered for before. So they're headquartered in San Clemente, so they're local. And yeah, so that's who they decided to give the funds to. And then the fourth graders also visited the San Juan Capistrano Mission because this is their year where they're learning California history. And the kindergartners at TOW had their annual show today. And with both the elementary schools, the students will take their iReady benchmarks when they come back from the break. And both schools will be having spirit days too soon. And at El Moro, all the elementary teachers and staff are going to do their professional development right before we come back from the break. And yeah, that's it for the elementary schools.
All right, I'm going to start with the updates on Thurston and Laguna, or the high school. First of all, at Thurston, the Wave Riders are having a valiant finish to finals week, doing their personal best, showing resilience and maintaining the course. Thurston Middle School recently submitted their schools to watch redesignation application. Schools to Watch is a national network of over 400 schools in 17 states. Redesignation will not only bring additional recognition to our work, but will provide staff with valuable and collaborative opportunities with their designated schools. And as for at the high school students are going to be finishing finals tomorrow, and report cards for the first semester will be sent out. During finals week, there were also emotional support animals on campus to relieve stress and bring positivity to the students. We had cats, dogs, and today we even actually had a petting zoo, which was awesome. I was glad to see how many smiles it truly brought to my friends and everyone's faces on campus, especially during such a stressful week as like finals. As for Asb Activities, we recently had a Friendsgiving where everyone shared pumpkin pie and apple cider in the quad. As well as last Friday, there was a gift wrapping contest in the quad. And an elf on the shelf has been moving around campus every day to watch over the breakers. His name is Breaker Brock the Elf. Lastly, students are dressing up this week for Winter Spirit Week, and they're excited to come back from break as well because winter formal is just around the corner once we get back. And to express our care and appreciation to the staff, ASB is hosting a breakfast tomorrow for all the staff in the library. And lastly, I want to talk about the Csba conference. Me and Isabella went to about 2 weeks ago. We got the chance to meet so many other student board representatives from other districts in California, as well as learn ways to engage with students, make organized solutions and plans, and other leadership tips that I found very useful and valuable, which I'm going to still use. I'm going to use. I also love watching the seminar and the very impressive high school male dance team who performed. I was happy to be able to attend the valuable and fun experience, and I look forward to next year.
Thank you both very much. This brings us to B, which is Margaret Water for CSEA.
Well, good evening and happy holidays. First of all, I'd like to thank the district office and the HR team for the fantastic holiday party that was held at TOW, because that was the best site as far as having a group of people there. It was really enjoyable and very, very nice. The other thing is the pandemic and its continuing intrusion into our lives makes planning very difficult, and we all know that. But particularly as our student reps have mentioned, I know each school is doing what they can to bring back the spirit of the holidays, and at TOW, the teachers and the staff, along with our principal, have really made some of the events that we missed last year happen, including the boutique for 5th grade. And today we had the kinder singing. And if everything else is upsetting and you stand and listen to the kinder sing for a while, all their songs, it really is heartwarming. I had the pleasure to attend the Csba Summit. Mr. Conlon attended also, acting as on the board of directors representing labor. And that was on December 6th. January 5th, The negotiations team from CSEA will be meeting, and I want to thank the board and administration for giving us that ability to meet and to plan our pre-negotiations meetings so that hopefully our negotiations go smoothly. And that we've ironed out internally where we're going and what we're doing. On January 9th, Elizabeth Phillips and I will be attending the school services governor's budget. And I want to again thank you for that ability to do that. That transparency is really important. And on January 3rd, due to a lot of effort by a lot of people from HR, Ms. White, and everyone else that's involved for our professional development days that are planned for, especially, I know for teachers also, but for classified, it's really a multi-tiered program for people to really in-depth cover what their particular job descriptions are, and also an opportunity to review just the safety plans together with the elementary at this time. So thank you and have a great holiday.
Thank you so much. This brings us to our, Sarah tonight, right? Okay. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. On this eve of break, which I'm sure everybody's very excited for and much deserved and well needed. Just a couple of bullet points I wanted to go over. It's a busy time of year for us as SROs with fun stuff, which is always uplifting. So both Ashley and I went on some field trips this last couple of weeks with El Moro and Top of the World. We visited San Juan Mission, which I actually had never been to. I didn't realize how beautiful of a property that was. In the years I've lived here, I never made that a priority. So that was really cool to explore with the kids. And then we also went to the Newport Nature Center as well. Our first Cup of Joe event at El Moro was very successful. A lot of parents showed up and actually had some really good recommendations on some programs for the SRO. And they had some good insight into kind of what they're seeing at home. So that was really nice. And thanks to the district and Dr. Keller for providing the coffee and showing us support there. We have our Shop with the Cop coming up next week. We're taking 5 total families to the Spectrum. And thanks to School Power and the district for generously donating so we could show these in-need families some love and support for the holidays. We're going to take them out to, I believe it's biology for lunch. Have them buy some clothing and some other essential stuff that they need. So Ashley's put a lot of work and time and effort into that. So we can thank her for that. We also had Cocoa with a Cop yesterday, which was great. We had some officers come and read some stories to the kids, and they had hot chocolate and down at the library down off Winter. So that was a lot of fun. And just to touch on something, I think we're all aware of the TikTok trend that's going on right now with what they're trying to promote and the challenge and all that. So just to know we're well aware of the situation. We're working in conjunction with OKAYAK and the district to monitor this. As it stands right now, there's no specific threat to any school. It's just one of those pranks that somebody thought was funny and decided to send out, and everybody just jumped on the bandwagon. So this is just a time to understand that digital citizenship and digital safety, which we try to promote, is now more important than ever. So we want to press that onto our kids, not to share anything like that. It's important that we monitor as parents what our kids are up to on social media. So we're well aware of the situation. No threats, and there's going to be increased police presence at the schools tomorrow. And just know that we're monitoring it, and the kids' safety is a number one priority, and it'll remain that way. So other than that, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and I'll see you guys after the new year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Officer Ashley, too. Next is Superintendent Report.
Good evening. I'll keep mine brief, but I do want to once again recognize at the holiday party, it's also our employee recognition event. So we have an opportunity to recognize our employees. I'm not going to take Mike's thunder because I'm sure he's going to talk about it. But it's just an amazing opportunity for us to have all of our staff attend as much as people can. We recognize people are busy, so we try to stagger the times, and I really appreciate those that were able to make it. But again, I recognize that it is a busy time, and I think we all recognize that it's kind of the mad dash here to the finish line. I do want to say special thank you to Andy, Chris, Don Honeycutt, Mia Lepage, Dr. Kyle Jensen from ASU, and Dr. Ratcliffe. We actually did a more recent podcast on rhetorical listening, and thanks to Shelley for pushing it out there and getting out there and to the podcast world. I thought it was one of the more fun opportunities to have a conversation. It went on for almost an hour, I think, in total. I didn't feel like that, but my wife said the first thing was, is anybody going to listen to something that long? But I'm hoping people did, you know. And then again, talking about CSBA was a great event. We actually presented, the district presented on Saturday morning at 9, which is not the prime spot to be presenting. But we actually had fairly good attendance, all things considered. We had about 40 folks from other districts present or there in our presentation. And let's see, and last but not least, we are sending home for those that wish to have a test kit for COVID with the elementary schools, can just let us know via the Google form. We'll get it in a student's backpack. High school, secondary students, we highly encourage you as well to grab a test on your way out the door. There are some in the front office. And we'll also be, giving reminders to all staff and students when we return in January as well. We highly encourage everyone to get tested. So with that, that's my report.
Thank you for your report. Mr. Dixon?
Thank you. I'll be brief. We do have our auditor here from iDaily, Mr. Royce Townsend, who will present later in reports. But what I will say is we did experience a fairly significant weather pattern this week where we had high wind and rain. All of our sites held up well. We did lose power due to circumstances out of our control. However, there were very few leaks, and the leaks that did happen were identified, and Mr. Zayden and his team are on them right away. So it's great work all around. And despite that wind and rain event, all of our sites did very well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chad.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that the kids, as our student board members talked about, Thurston and the high school are finishing up their finals this week and getting a well-deserved break the next 2 weeks. And so I'm in and out of classes a lot. And one of the things that I see the most is the care and engagement of the staff with the students. And I think when we think of all the challenges that the kids have gone through this first semester, how important it is that the kids are engaged and talking and working through that learning experience. And it always inspires me when I go into those classrooms to see the staff constantly engaging with the students. And it's such an important time to do that. And so I just want to highlight that. Also want to highlight our school counselor, community liaison, Yvonne Redard, who's out putting together resources from district and local resources for families in need during this time. And she's done an amazing job with a lot of families. And then lastly, I was also down at the Csba Annual Conference. A lot of really good workshops, went to one around small schools and the challenges that small school districts like ours are facing, one around SEL practices. I think board member Perry was in that one, and just it's always reassuring, reaffirming the work that we've done the last 4 or 5 years in that area. And then a really interesting one, board member Osborne was in around outdoor classrooms. And this was an interesting one in that it's a topic we've been talking about a little bit internally as we kind of wrap up our 4 CLE project, which is updating all the classrooms, and as that might be something that we could do as a 4 CLE 2.0. So once that wraps up in the next year or two. So thank you.
Good evening. Yes, as others, Margaret and Jason have shared, the holiday party is always a big hit, but it really is impossible to happen without the work of a lot of people, but especially special thanks to Victoria Weber and Jennifer Giencio for the time and effort that you put into that event. It does not go unnoticed, and it's much appreciated. It ends up being a very amazing event that doesn't really happen in a lot of school districts. So thank you both, and thanks everyone else who is involved. But the entire HR team is grateful for every member of the LBUS team for all they do to support students in the district, and we just want to wish everyone a safe and restful holiday. And we are excited to announce our Employees of the Year for the 21-22 school year. In our classified category winners were Doug Bowman in the Custodial Maintenance, Nutrition, and Security Services category, Elizabeth Phillips, our Health and Student Services, Margaret Warder in our Paraprofessional and Instructional Assistants, and our Classified Employee of the Year was Kelly Murda. Again, for everyone knows her, she does so much to ensure that the we have staff in place to keep the district running. So we're gonna have a special recognition for them at a January board meeting once we decide that date. And then our Teacher of the Year this year is Megan Boscaron, a TMS social studies teacher. And indeed, anyone who knows her can attest that she's well deserving of that award as well. So we definitely look forward to having a formal recognition at a board meeting in January and share a few more wonderful words about the amazing work that they do. So that's all for me for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Next up is, Mr. Townsend. Podium. Thank you so much.
Well, good evening. It's well, it is loud, isn't it? It's a pleasure to be here this evening. I'm here to present the audited financial statements for the district. As a reminder, the audit is intended to provide you, the governing board, reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. I always like to emphasize reasonable versus total. Total assurance would mean that we're looking at every single transaction, and that's not really the focus for this sort of audit. We do provide you our opinion of the specific areas that we're testing. And those opinions are the only items in the audit report that are ours. Everything else in the audit report is your information. As I've said in the past, there are over 90 pages in this report, I believe, but there are a few pages that I always like to make sure that a governing board focuses upon. And then I want to add one new page this year because of a change in reporting. So the first page would be 84, and that is called the Summary of Auditors' Results. And that will summarize the outcome of the three specific areas that we looked at. First being the financial statements as a whole, the second being the federal awards that we looked at, and then last being state compliance. You will see that in all three areas, we are providing you an unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that the auditors can provide you. And in both with financial statements and federal awards, we did not identify any internal control issues. The biggest change of this page this year is just the sheer number of federal programs that we had to test this year as a result of the additional federal dollars that came in with the coronavirus relief funds and the ESSER and GEAR monies. So that really constituted the additional work that had to be put into this audit. But from your perspective, the outcome is what you would want to hear. The second page that I always point you to was page 70, which is the schedule of financial trends and analysis. I always say that, you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. So a trend analysis is a really great way of looking to see where you have been and where you're trending now. There are a number of positive trends. Probably the one that I would say stands out to me most is that you haven't deficit spent in any of the 3 years that this covers, plus you're not projected to deficit spend now in the year that we're in. So those are all positive trends. Really, and you're holding your reserves very, very well. So again, if you're looking at how you have trended, this is where you go, and there are some positive items there that I would direct you to. I did mention that there are some changes, and the big changes are in the reporting for this year. And so if you were to go to page 58, you'll see restatements. The restatements of prior year balances is necessitated by the implementation of what we call GASB statement number 84. That's Governmental Accounting Standards Boards. And really what they're doing is they're looking at what we called fiduciary activity and essentially moving it around. So some of the activity that was moved would, for instance, have been student body activity, and that would have moved out of the fiduciary category and moved to the governmental category. That would have required a restatement. Another would have been just a name change. In the past, we had a category in fiduciary called agency, and now it's called custodial. Simply a name change, but that would have required a restatement. So that's really why you have this separate page that's identifying the restatements. Doesn't mean that you had any more. It's just moving and shifting it over into new categories of reporting. But again, because this is necessitated, it does require a separate page identifying what the restatements are. So that summarizes the outcome of the audit. And as always, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
On page 70, for the year 2022, under long-term liabilities, including OPEB and pensions, you have an NA there. And I just wonder, you don't have it anyplace else, and why you have nothing there.
Well, this is your generally your budgeted long-term liabilities. So the reason why that is there's usually you don't budget for something that is not part of your general operations. Your general operations would be your general fund and other associated funds, but the long-term debt comes in as what we call a conversion entry, another reporting sort of issue from GASB. So that's why it's generally not part of your ongoing budget. You're cognizant that you have costs associated with your debt, but it's generally not a component of the budget from that point, specifically pension liability.
But why are we showing it for 21, 20, and 19?
I'm sorry?
Why are we showing a number for?
Because these were actual columns. 20, 21, and 2019 were all actual. And so that was the long-term liabilities that were reported.
And we have no projections for 22?
I'm sorry?
We have no projections for 22?
No, the auditors wouldn't project what your long-term liabilities would be in your budget year. You would have to do that. And candidly, I don't know any districts that actually project what their liabilities are associated with pension and other post-employment benefits, because those are actuarially driven.
Do you have additional questions?
I know that Jeff gives us this information in our quarterlies, so.
Well, and you will get the actuarial study update every year annually as well. And it's updated comprehensively every 2 years. And that will show the multi-year for you for liability.
Thank you.
It's a good question.
Jan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Anyone else? That's it.
Okay,
Thank you so
well,
much.
again, thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you for your time, all of it. Now this moves us to 7A. Clerk Osborne, have you received any speaker cards for those wishing to make a public comment on the approval of agreements with Emergency Management Safety Partners, Inc. in amount not to exceed $10,000?
No.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Osborne. Mr. Dixon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So before you tonight, staff is recommending the approval of a contract with Emergency Management Safety Partners, Inc. And I'll use the acronym for the remainder. The EMSP is the firm name. And this is the same firm that did work with us back in 2019-20. At the time, they were called Campus Safety Group. But it's the same people, just a simple change in name. And as you know, and you'll see a lot of information in the agenda item backup, but a lot of work has gone into updating our comprehensive safety plan for our district. Specifically over the last 5 years, there's some highlighted info in there, but to hone in on what we've done more recently is the development of the reunification plan, which is vital part of safety planning and emergency preparedness, as well as the site-specific goals that we've been able to tailor for the school sites to tie into their site-specific safety plans. A firm that was instrumental in helping us do that was the Emergency Management Safety Partners at the time, Campus Safety Group. And what we're looking to do now is bring that firm back as a natural progression in the development of our safety planning and preparedness and preparation is bring them back to help develop tabletop exercises to build upon what we've put down in the plan and practiced, but in a more thorough and facilitated manner with the professional eyes on us to give us feedback and recommendations for further improvement once we go through these exercises. Now, we participated in tabletop exercises with the city of Laguna Beach, and we've done it with some other operation centers in the county is another example. We've done their EOC training, but this really allows us to do it at our own specific level, being the district office functioning as the EOC, and then practice these tabletop exercises in a safe way with all of our school sites. And what they do is what's called injects, to inject a real scenario and see how we would respond. And so that's how it will work. So with the approval of this contract tonight, it would be a not to exceed contract of $10,000 paid for out of the district's general fund. And we would begin the first trainings with the elementary schools on January 3rd would be their tabletop exercises to follow up with the secondary schools later in the year. I'd be happy to take any questions.
A couple things. I noticed that part of Thurston's plan is updating all of their emergency procedures because they have so many new people there, et cetera. Would they be helping them or no?
Sure. So generally, they'll look at our comprehensive safety plan and they have to provide us feedback as far as giving us specific feedback for the sites. It would occur at the tabletop exercise based on what they review and how we're implementing those protocols. So there would be feedback depending on what we're doing, specific for each school site.
Okay. I know when I went to a conference and they talked about tabletop exercises, they did have like a fireman there because they talked about, because we have had fires here, different. But is this, the tabletop exercises will just be done with our people?
This is specific for our school staff. We've participated in a lot of tabletop exercises with the city, and then we have, of course, our school, our police officers, and the fire department, and we participated in all those, and we'll continue to participate in their tabletop exercises. But this is really, before they even get to the school site, we need to get our reactions in place so that we can respond quickly and in the best manner possible for our staff and students. And that's what this is going to focus in on.
Okay, so would it be things like, you're evacuating, I was in the situation, you're evacuating TOW students to the high school and you're going to put them all in the gym, but nobody thought about, there was a big drop off. So we're all trying to catch kids as they're going down. You'd kind of figure that out so we wouldn't be catching kids?
Sure. I won't know the exact what if scenarios, but yes, the idea is you practice what would occur in the real world. So you go through the exercise, and that's what those injects would be. The scenarios that you have to respond to.
Okay. Okay.
This isn't the group though that does the drunk driver kind of thing. Okay.
No.
Any additional questions?
How long does the exercises typically take?
The first one's planned is 90 minutes. So that'll include bringing the school sites in, going through the exercises, and then that doesn't include the debrief or feedback that'll occur after. And I don't think there's a time limit on that per se, but I would give that a few hours to connect with their team and get the feedback implemented into our protocols and practices.
Okay. And how many different injections or scenarios would you be going through? I originally had the question, what the heck is a tabletop exercise? But I think through the dialogue you had with Member Perry, I see that you're sitting at the table and you're practicing scenarios. Are there multiple scenarios that are practiced?
There can be. And again, I haven't seen this exact exercise until this contract is approved. We won't have it developed for us, but typically there are several injects and possibly multiple scenarios, but 3 or 4 is what we've experienced in the past.
Okay. Yeah, and it'd be great if they can be somewhat not customized, but relevant to our sites, right? So maybe it's at the high school, somebody enters through 3 of the open gates. Now what do we do? Or at top of the world, there's a fire approaching out of the canyon, or, it would be nice if we thought about them as specifically what we might encounter.
Or you have 200 parents all wanting to get their kids at the same time. And how do you check them in and out?
Sure.
And somebody's saying, I'm not just taking my kids, but I'm taking my neighbors and these and all those kind of things.
Sure. There's a lot of what ifs. Yes.
Yeah.
There.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. Dixon.
Jen, do you have any questions?
Not question, just comment when we get it on the table.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Moved.
Okay. Go ahead with your comment, Jan. We can.
I think that in recent years, we've advanced so far in this district with addressing our safety concerns. But some of the things that were asked, we have been doing those and the planning has taken place. And in some of the recent things that have been in the news around the country, what you hear so often is the comment on the preparation, that staff were prepared and they directed the students and got them to safety. And so I think that kind of training is imperative. It doesn't take that much time, but it won't be new to our staff. It will be new to some who are new to our district, but I know that Mr. Dixon has been leading this increase for a number of years, and I support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Thanks, Jim, for turning that on and off. Any other comments or discussion? Okay. Now, Natalie, can I have the student provisional vote?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. And we're moving to 7B. Clerk Osborne, have you received any speaker cards for those wishing to make public comment on the approve the acceptance of the 2020-2021 district audit as presented by the district independent audit firm?
No, none received.
Thank you. And Mr. Dixon, you have the floor.
Thank you. And the presentation was done earlier during the report section by Mr. Royce Townsend of Ide Bailey. Staff is recommending acceptance of the audit report as presented. And again, if there are follow-up questions, it can occur after the meeting as well. It can always be emailed to my office and I can follow up with you or the auditor as needed after as well.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Could I have a motion then?
Moved.
Okay. Any comments or discussion?
Meant that this is a really intensive process that our district goes through. And I know it's pretty nerve-wracking for the business office and others. And so thank you for the time that they spend with the auditor.
I agree. Yeah. Thank you, Jan, for that comment. Okay.
I also can say for the students, it's very kind how much dedication you guys put into our safety, and we really appreciate all the protocols we take.
Thank you, Natalie. Anything else? Could I have this, Natalie, could I have your vote, please?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And this moves us to, sorry, lost my place there. 8A. Clerk Osborne, have you received any speaker cards for those wishing to make a public comment on the approval of resolution number 2121, authorizing the district to enter into agreement with Public Agency Retirement Services, PARS, to design and administer a supplement retirement plan for eligible certificated non-management, certificated management, classified non-management, and classified management employees, provided there is sufficient employee participation.
None received.
Thank you so much. Mr. Collin, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Normandin. And yes, as President Normandin just shared, this is an agreement between Laguna Beach Unified School District and the company called PARS to offer a retirement incentive to all of our groups. Again, both management groups and both non-management groups. And again, the goal is for the program to generate savings, or at the very least be a no cost to the district. So with this resolution, the board will be authorizing, by approving the resolution, you'd be authorizing us to offer this to our staff. And then once we get the identification of how many people have expressed interest in it, we would do the analysis and determine if we move forward or not. So again, with your approval this evening, we would move forward with offering this to our staff. So welcome and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions? The minute. Oh, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Do I have a motion then? Good. Sorry.
But I was just going to comment after that. I think it's nice to offer this option and have it really set out. So it's the same for everyone.
Okay.
Moved.
Good. I'll second. What did you, okay, and D second, okay, D moved and Osborne second. Okay, any other comments? Okay. Thank you for bringing this forward and making it fair across the board. Appreciate it. Okay. Natalie, could I, wait a minute, do you have to do a roll call for this one? Okay, all yours.
Natalie?
Aye.
Thank you. Member Vickers?
Yes.
Member Perry?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Clerk Osborne?
Yes.
President Normandin?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. This moves us to 9A. Clerk Osborne, have you received any speaker cards for those wishing to make public comment on approval of 2021-2022 school plan for student achievement for each school in Laguna Beach Unified School District?
No.
Thank you. Then, Dr. Mayberry, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Each school year, all schools in California develop school plans for student achievement, or better known as SIPSAs. These plans from the 4 schools kind of shares the overall vision, some, not all their goals, but some of their focus goals for the school year, along with the actions that they wanted to utilize to achieve that, along with in some metrics. The intention is similar to the LCAP. It's meant to have a continuous improvement cycle that they look at. The plan, they start developing their plans in the spring and then bring them into the fall and work with their school site council and other different stakeholder groups to kind of finalize them. All 4 of these plans have been approved by their school site councils at each of the 4 schools. And then we also align this, they're aligned with our LCAP. That kind of coherence and consistency really helps streamline and make it very effective goals and actions that we can all support and prioritize. And lastly, they also aligned with the 8 state priorities that the California Department of Ed has put forward each year. So bring these forward tonight for your consideration for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, can I have a motion? A second? Yeah. Okay, any discussion or comments?
I have a comment. At the CSBA conference, I noticed some districts were giving high school students a certain amount of money, like $20,000, to decide how to spend it for student achievement. And I wondered if we had offered anything like that to our students or input from them on how to spend some of the money.
The funds in this plan are ones that we have to put in here around Title I funds. And so those are the ones that are included in the actual plans for this one. And so you wouldn't see any necessarily that those ones have very specific federal requirements that are allowable expenses.
Okay. So which funds are students allowed to have input on?
Well, the middle and high school have students on their school site council for this plan. So they do help give input into these plans. And this is obviously now, schools spend a lot more funds besides obviously what's in this plan, right?
Right.
So, but schools get different inputs on different actions, whether they're deciding how to actually spend $20,000 may not come out that way, but they
Yeah.
definitely give input on different programs and needs, and the principals and the leadership teams certainly adjust what they offer based on the input, whether it's through advisory councils or clubs or
Mhm.
ASB.
They were talking about specifically federal funds.
Yeah, no, I'm not aware
Okay.
of the
Okay.
program that would have that. Sorry.
I just was hoping at some point we could involve our students because they're the ones who are looking for their achievement in figuring out what might work best.
Yeah, no, we agree. We want to have their input and on all those decisions. And then obviously, with the help of people like Mr. Dixon, we determine if we have the funds to do that or not. But we agree it's very valuable to have student input on different programs and needs that they have, whether it's academics, character, social emotional programs, all those different things.
Yeah. They had specifically given a mountain of money and had students all come up with proposals of how they thought it should best be spent. And then they looked at that together. It wasn't somebody coming and saying, I think we need to do this in math. It was a set amount and this is what we should do. Is that? Anyway, okay.
Dr. Mayberry, I wanted to commend each of the 4 sites for the amount of detail that were in the plans, the site-specific goals, and then the LCAP goals that were kind of viewed through that lens of the sites. I really enjoyed, I didn't enjoy reading 80 pages, but I did really enjoy what I got out of it after reading all 4 of them. A couple questions, and I won't go too into the granular, but on the high school plan, one of the things that caught my attention was the early warning system. One, I really was interested in the DF rate on closing that gap. I appreciated Dr. Allman's focus on that. But he also mentioned the early warning system. So tell me a little bit about that on the high school plan.
It's actually a piece, a component of ARIES. And so what we can do is we can take different data points. And as you probably saw in the plans, the data has been a little challenging the last year. I think we've talked about this here before. Like, so there, you know, the data is not as solid as it typically is, but they can take things like attendance, you know, student behavior, the grades, the SBAC score, and assign a point value to them and say,
I see.
you know, and so then what it does, it's not a perfect system, but it potentially, you know, will say, oh, look, this kid has had attendance challenges and his grades have dropped. And then the intervention teams look at that and say, okay, have we talked to the student? What programs do you already have in place? Do we need to set up an SST? So it's built in, but it's another way to kind of to have a system that looks for students that maybe need additional support.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And then I wanted to point out on the Thurston plan, I really appreciated the interest in the safety, revising the safety in that goal. So I was really focused on that. And I also really liked the plan that they were doing on Swiss on some measurable outcomes for some of the behavioral interventions. And as a board member, when we have a measurable outcome on a site, it really shows me that we have the data as a baseline, and then we have a goal. And whether or not we meet the goal, that's another, you know, another conversation. But having the goal is half the battle. So I really appreciated that on the Thurston plan. And I think I shared Member Perry's comment on trying to integrate that with the contract that we just approved, or at least make sure that those are linked. And then on the elementary plans, I especially liked the goals at top of the world. I thought they were aggressive on trying to get those, that learning recovery back up to 90% at grade level by the end of the year. So I'm really excited to see that and to see those teams and all the great things that Dr. Hatchell shared in her presentations to the board so far. And I'm curious if we have any way to measure that now that we're mid-year. Do we have any baseline or mid-year data?
In January, the kids will be taking a mid-year check-in for iReady.
Okay,
So that'll
great.
give us a little bit of an indicator of
Okay.
progress.
Okay.
They'll take that again this spring, and then our 3rd, 4th, 5th graders will take the SBAC this year again. So that'll be, we can use that and kind of see where things are compared to a couple of years ago.
Okay, great. And then on the Almoro plan, one of the things that caught my attention, just to share with my other fellow board members, was some of the language and goals around engaging students in real world problem solving. I really appreciated Mr. Duddy's focus on that. And again, I think in summary, it was really nice to read them and reflect on the different goals and methods to increase student achievement across all 4 of our sites. So big kudos to the teams that did those. Do we have a motion? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? I'm looking for Jan.
I just appreciate the forward looking of all these reports, looking to see how they can enhance the education for students and keeping themselves accountable. But I wasn't sure, I don't want to belabor it or get into a discussion tonight, but we do have student reps on both the site councils at the high school and at Thurston. And so perhaps it would be informative, particularly for Member Perry, to in a future update how they involve the students at those meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Vickers. Any other comments? Discussion? Okay. Natalie, may I have your vote? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? Motion carries 5-0. This moves us to 9B, Clerk Osborne, have you received any speaker cards for those wishing to make a public comment on the approval of the, print is so small, on the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant Plan for Laguna Beach? No. Thank you. With that, Dr. Mayberry, floor is yours again.
Thank you. This Educative Effectiveness Block Grant is a one-time funding provided to school districts this fall for professional development in order to promote educator equity, quality, and effectiveness for all staff. As a condition of receiving these funds, the district must share the expenditure plan with the board meeting before its adoption and a subsequent meeting. We found out we found out of our potential allocation, which we expect to be around $750,000 to spend over 4.5 years. At near the end of October, we brought it forward at our last November meeting, the actual details of the plan, and then we're bringing it forward this meeting for final approval so that we can have it done before the deadline of December 30th, 2021. So with that, bringing forward the plan, we actually begin a little bit of the work towards that with our school leaders and just talking about the different categories and funding. There was a quick turnaround for this one, but we are already connecting with our principals and assistant principals on how to potentially use this. And then we'll be reaching out to hopefully to larger groups after that.
Any questions? Okay. May I have a motion?
Moved.
Okay. However you want to grab that, Victoria. Everyone said something. Okay. Any comments or discussion? Okay. With that, Natalie, may I have the student provisional vote, please? Okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed? And Jan, did you say? Oh, there we go. Thanks, Jan. Okay, motion carries 5-0. And this takes us to action item number 10, Superintendent. Clerk Osborne, have you received any speaker cards for those wishing to make public comment on approval of the November 18th, 2021 board meeting minutes?
No.
Thank you. Dr. Flory, you have the floor.
These minutes are outside of consent simply because it was one of the few meetings that Member Vickers was not in attendance. So Member Vickers cannot vote on them.
The third in 30 some odd years. Yeah. Okay. Assuming there are no questions. Other questions? Okay. Could I have a motion in a second, please? Okay. Nellie, okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay. And abstain? Okay, thank you. And so the motion carries 401. Thank you. And this brings us to the consent calendar, which is 11A. Clerk Osborne, if there's anyone wishing to speak to the consent calendar, item C through K?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Do any members wish to comment or ask a question, not have it anything pulled, but just comment or ask a question? Okay. Which? Yeah, I was gonna say which number? Yeah.
11A7. My question is, for the extra period assignments, what do those extra periods assignments include?
And to be sure, you were looking at the one to say 20% extra period assignment?
Yes.
Okay. So as part of the goals that have been established around the MTSS, working around academic supports and behavior, these were, we gave each school site a 20% assignment to have an additional staff member assist with all of the data collection and analysis that goes with creating the first goal was around creating an assessment system for every school site. And then the second piece was around the tracking of all the behavior and the social emotional pieces. So you'll be seeing these one for each school will have one come forward, and each school kind of breaks it differently. The two elementary schools are giving it one, they're both using their instructional coaches to help do this additional work alongside the principal to help put the systems in place so that they can meet the goal 1 and goal 2 that we had discussed previously.
So this is, what I was looking at is, I know almost every teacher does work beyond their work day. They call parents, they grade, they do report cards, they do all kinds of things.
Sure.
And is this, so I'm looking at, should everybody get more? Is this way beyond their scope of duty?
Well, I wouldn't say that, I mean, we definitely acknowledge that the job of an administrator, of an educator, goes well beyond the
Right.
the bell schedule. But I mean, that's kind of just, it's part of what, that's just it's part of the job.
Right.
In this case, these individuals have full-time roles and full-time responsibilities. And there's, what we see worthy of about a 20% additional work that's being added to their plates in addition to their current duties. So that's what, warranted. It's similar, you see it at the secondary sites where in lieu of a prep period, so they teach an extra class.
Right.
So they lose their prep period to teach that class. So that's how it looks at the secondary level. At the elementary level with these two individuals, it's just there's a portion of their day that they're typically doing their other duties. They're having, that's gonna have to get pushed to later in the evening beyond what normally is taken home.
Okay.
Again, it's just, there's that extra substantial layer of work that's being asked of them that is warranted to compensate them.
I guess I had heard that teachers were also being asked to collect a lot more data.
That's potentially, I can't, without
Okay.
knowing the specifics of what you're speaking
Okay.
about, but I can tell you, yeah, when you're teaching, there's numerous, with the implementation of iReady and all the assessments, you're absolutely collecting more data from your students. But
Sure.
that's all happening during your, typically that's happening during the workday.
Right, but also being asked to put it into a system so it can be analyzed. So it's a double collection.
Sure, and that's been happening. We've had Illuminate where teachers have been required to input data into Illuminate. That has been an expectation for a number of years.
Mhm.
And I know, from year to year, when you think about offering, when raises come to be, there are times when you discuss, okay, we're realizing that we have upped the ante and the expectations and what's being asked of teachers is increasing, which is why we feel, a certain raise might be warranted. So that's typically tied to that. But I can tell you for the last, several years, there's a lot of data that's being collected and asked for teachers to input.
Okay. I just want to be sure that we're not getting too data rich and this data is really going to be used, that it's because sometimes we spend a lot of time collecting data and nothing happens with it.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I'm hoping this has all been well thought out.
Yeah, I can assure you that is, and Chad can speak to that more, but I can tell you that if you talk to elementary teachers, they're realizing there is a lot of data being collected, but Margaret can speak to as well. There is a lot of targeted work being done to ensure that every single student, needs are being met and that they are, they're performing to their best of their ability. So it's, so in that sense, it takes data to know exactly how you need to meet the needs of those students, but I can assure you that I am confident that we're not just assessing to assess and collecting data to collect data, that it's actually really being used to impact and, improve students' performance.
An example would be like our tests that our state tests that we do at the end of the year. And then you can't do anything about it as a teacher. It goes on to the next teacher who's barely looks at it. So we're not really using that data.
Yeah,
I mean, we use it, but not like you would if you got it and it was your students and you.
Sure,
thought,
that's
"I
more of
haven't
a
taught
summative,
this right."
summative data versus, data you use diagnostically to kind of
Yeah.
improve your instruction in the, that's kind of like, that's an example of a lag measure. Sorry, excuse me, I talk with my hands. But that's where you look back and say, okay, did all the work that we did throughout the year, did it show in that summative assessment? But we have a lot of information and data going on and an assessment being done throughout the school year, which we analyze it, and then how does that inform my practice for the next 6 weeks? So it's as opposed to waiting until the end, but we'll let Chad answer as well. It goes beyond.
Yeah, I mean, obviously yeah.
That's a good point.
I get excited about data, sorry.
So is the agenda item, it's just, are we approving this money just for these people?
Yes, what's on the warrant? On the warrant, I know.
correct?
Right, yes, that's what I was gonna say, so I can't have a discuss, that's all I was gonna say was that if we want to discuss it, we need to pull it.
Okay,
I was just worried the question would get into discussion, because as they make comments, then we want to make comments. So I'm just asking you, if you have more questions, I'd rather we pull it as a separate item, so we have discussion.
okay.
Otherwise, we should move forward. And I know, if you have more questions, happy, but we should just pull it out and discuss it. What's your preference? No, what's your preference? Would you like to pull it?
No,
It's fine.
no.
That's why we have the ability to pull it. It's fine. I would like to learn more. It's fine if we pull it. I just want to pull it. So that we
Okay,
stay within the-
let's pull this one.
So, and that's F, is that right?
C, right?
C. Yeah, sorry. Any additional comments, not on C, on anything else? Any other comments or questions on any other items? Okay, so can I get a motion? Okay, for D through K? Okay. C, I'll second that. Okay. Sorry, just want to make sure we're not. And then Natalie, can it, for D through K, could I get your vote on that? Please? Okay. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay. So motion for D through K passes 5-0, and then we can go to C. Okay. So now, please, go ahead. You can ask. Huh? Oh, we should get the motion on C. You're right. Okay. Could I have a motion for C? We could set it C. Okay. I'll second it. Okay, G. Go ahead. So this
Second.
way- Go ahead, Jan. Oh, you second it. Okay. Okay. Okay, go ahead, G.
my concern is that I don't want to spend so much time testing and keeping track of data that we're not spending time with kids that we know what their issue is. We just need time to work with them and not, there needs to be a balance. And that's my concern. And so if we're hiring people to just take care of data, that seems like a lot of data.
Data required for accountability. I mean, it's to me, the nature of education at this point in time. And we're asking for these measurements and for accountability, and we're looking to have all the sites hold that accountability, but they need a lot of data to back that up. And we also need a lot of data so that we know what works and what doesn't.
But we also, students only have so much time, and if we're going to spend a lot of that time testing instead of teaching, there has to be a balance there.
I would say that that's not what's happening. We are assessing students, and it is an expectation that we're assessing students, especially post, as we're managing through COVID and all of the challenges that students were facing last year. So this really does give us the opportunity to assess our students, identify areas of opportunity that students may need some extra support that's very specific. Putting those students in an intervention and assessing them to make sure that they're actually got it before sending them back into the regular classroom. That might be where they meet with Miss Warder and are getting a specific support there. We've added a math intervention, so we do need data to support the intervention. It can't be based off of what we feel. It needs to be based off what we know. So to that end, the data is extremely important for us to gather. It isn't in any way attempting to eliminate lessons that teachers might have done previously. However, we recognize that in order to intervene on behalf of students in a manner that is appropriate and is targeted, we have to know what the actual concerns are. And so that is really the intent of collecting the data. The roles that these two folks are playing, this was determined by the school site principal. This is their recommendation based off of conversations and the work that they're trying to accomplish. We gave the site principals the authority to figure out how they wanted to best support this work at their school site. I can tell you above and beyond, these folks are doing this work outside of their regular school day, but they are running meetings. They're running MTSS meetings as well. Again, Ms. Warder sits in those, as do many people. And I have to say, this is part of my goals this year that the board's well aware of. And we are set out to accomplish, in my opinion, some very good interventions on behalf of our students. And it's not as though we weren't intervening previously, but I think this is much more targeted. We have a better system in place, and that it needs to be data informed. Now, I'm not saying that all we want to do is test students. That's not what this is about. And that's not what we are doing. In fact, it's a very good balance of assessing students and implementing intervention. So.
And please believe I'm not against data. It's just how much do we need? Okay.
Any other comments?
I just wanted to read to you part of an email that was sent to myself regarding the data collection that the school district has been doing by Dr. Marilyn Potts, who I consider to be an expert on data. And I asked her to meet with the administrative team to look at their data and see what she thought they were doing and how they were doing it. And this is just a summary. She says, I had a very pleasant and productive conversation with Jason, Betsy, and Chad this morning. Your school system has an amazing team. They know their data, which includes some longitudinal information about grades, AP scores, and social emotional status by middle school versus high school. I could make a few suggestions about involving their social work intern, adding demographic questions to the next administration of social emotional instruments, and working with the people at Stanford who developed the instruments, who would have an army of skilled researchers, as well as perhaps information from other school systems. But she goes on, and she basically says that what we're doing in the school district is exceptional, and that we have an exceptional team, and they know what they're doing. So I just wanted, this is an outsider who made this assessment, and I think for me, it's a really excellent evaluation of what we're doing here.
Thank you very much, Board Member Kelly. I really appreciate that.
Okay, any other comments? Okay. Natalie, may I have the vote for consent item C? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 5-0. Thank you for that. This moves us to 12A, governance. This is a second read. Well, Clerk Osborne, have you received any speaker cards for those wishing to make public comment on the second read and approval of the board policies in the 5,000 series?
None received.
Okay. On November 2nd, 2021, we held a special meeting to review and discuss policies in the 5,000 series. On November 18th, 2021, the policies were presented for first reading. Board members, students, do you have any questions on this before we go to a motion? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Okay. Is there any discussion, comments? Approve these policies? Okay, Natalie, may I have the student vote, please?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And this takes us to governance section 13A. Actually, before we do that, I just want to thank you guys for all the work you do on the policies. Staring over there at you, Chad, too. We're going to start the reporting section with Clerk Osborne.
Thanks, President Norman. For the last 30-day period, some of the things that I did, I attended CSBA in person for 3 days in San Diego. I really appreciated our team dinner. I enjoyed meeting representatives from other school districts, and I attended sessions on the economic outlook, on board policies, on outdoor classrooms, on climate action pathways, and environmental literacy and sustainability initiatives, all good stuff. I dropped into the holiday open house. I never had seen the top of the world NPR look so beautiful. So kudos to whoever the decorations team was. It was really dolled up. I attended a kickoff of the parenting workshops offered by School Power's new Parent Resource Center. I served as the parent rep or the board rep to School Power this year. So I wanted to see what they're offering. They were fantastic. small groups, interactive, and they were held at their facility over on St. Anne's. I completed 3 mandated reporter trainings for Mr. Conlon. Appreciated those. I did listen to the hour-long podcast on rhetorical listening. You can stream that in your car, everybody. When you know you have an hour drive, that's the one to listen to. I also attended a really great meeting yesterday with Assemblywoman Cotty Petrie Norris, Newport Mesa, also a community-funded district, and advocated for some funding for the unfunded mandate that is transitional kindergarten. We also talked about how to manage difficult board meetings and maybe some possible legislation regarding video recording of meetings, and that was really good. I toured the renovated outdoor classroom at El Moro today with Principal Deddy, and I've also been tracking the vaccination rate. So I wanted to commend our community, especially our 12 through 17-year-olds are vaccinated at a rate higher than the rest of Orange County. We have a 77.6% vaccination rate in the Laguna Beach zip code compared to a 70.6 vaccination rate countywide. So we're doing a great job there. We just need to keep it up. And we definitely need to work on getting the vaccination rates of our 5 through 12-year-olds up, because we are definitely seeing higher case rates on a per student basis in our elementary schools versus our secondary schools. So overall, really excited about that. And it was a great, busy, fun month. Happy holidays to my fellow board members. Of course, I brought you guys plants. Jan, Dr. Kelly, maybe you can drop yours off as well. And I hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday.
Thank you, Clerk Osborne. Member Perry?
Yes, happy holidays to everyone. Let's see, I'll start out with the CCA meeting. It was lovely to have board member Kelly there, and we missed board member Vickers, but he had a lot of great ideas and everybody really enjoyed having him there. There's some exciting things going on. They have 3 of the career centers are finished. 3 are ready to go. They're considering a lot of new pathways, even one on esports. At this point, CCA students can get credit for a class, but they cannot do an internship unless they have been vaccinated. We're thrilled to get money that has long been waited for. And I did at the conference talk to O'Donnell, and he has been very strategic in helping get CCA funding. They also want to give incentives for teachers to get a CTE credential with some of that money. And they're trying to bring teachers back up to where they were before they lost the money, back up to their regular salary, and also give them some prep time because they have never had prep time. The automatronic lab will be linked to math, reading, history, and lessons through stories. And the first one will be at Wood Canyon. The middle school teachers requested that the first lab be really flashy and be at the elementary school to spark an interest in tech ed. And they are ready to put innovation labs at the elementary schools that want them and have buy-in. They're selling their first tiny house that was built at San Juan Hills. And it's built on a trailer due to lack of permanent space. And it will generate enough money to build another one. And because of the tiny house being tiny, students get the chance to explore plumbing and electrical and cabinet making and roofing, et cetera, because it can all be done quickly, which is exciting. They have a biotech lab now at Aliso Viejo High School and mobile labs for both Laguna Beach and San Juan Hills. At the CSBA conference, which I also appreciated going to and enjoyed our dinner together, I learned about lots of resources for helping teachers. A lot different sessions in the conference were talking about how burned out teachers are too, and how others can pick up more of the load and not put so much stress on teachers. with our students returning to school that with more needs, both academic, social, and emotional. UC Berkeley has a happiness research study and exercises for happiness that they brought up. And one of the things that I took was they really stressed the importance of working on a positive self-body image in upper elementary before kids go to middle school specifically. Let's see, I went to one about student board members and it was really fun. A student board member was so into it that after he graduated, he ran for the board and he's now a board member and a young one, but very excited. And they talked about being able to put items on the agenda themselves. And then I went to one about the current legal issues, which I think a lot of us did, and one about what the lobbyists were doing. And talking about that, it was interesting that they said that for the first time in a long time, the lobbyists were a little bit upset with school districts in general, not us, not anybody in specifically. I was just, that they felt like school districts weren't listening to the public, and they had given school districts money for all the COVID and everything, and school districts hadn't reacted very quickly about going back to school. Again, this isn't us, this is in general. And so the comment he made was that they, in Sacramento, they are thinking of us now as children, and they're the adults, and because we're not making good decisions, and in their opinion. And so they want to put everything in what we used to call categorical funds, which we don't call it that anymore, but that's part of the reason we're getting so much of that, which isn't helpful for us. I think it was maybe Dr. Valoria who said it's like, you have a family that, isn't making their rent and don't have enough to eat, but you offer them a vacation. We need the basic money too. So they talked a lot about lobbying for that. And then it was comforting in some ways to know that all other boards are having a lot of the same issues as far as vaccinations and masking and issues with the health curriculum, and the new laws for classified people and letting them know if they're not being rehired. So it was good to talk about all that. And thank you.
Thank you. Member Kelly.
So it's hard to follow my two colleagues because they give such good reports of things that I also attended. The CCA meeting, or College and Career Advantage, it was a real pleasure to finally get to see the group, and I was very impressed with what they're doing, very impressed with the director. I'm so glad that they got a big windfall and they're able to put $3 million into reserves to help them in the future so they don't go out of business. It's just real cutting edge types of things. I had to laugh about that. They like having us part of it. So they have 47,000 students in the Capo district. And with R3, they can say they have 50,000 students that they're providing services to. I was also impressed with the administration building of Capo, Jeff. And I'm sure that the new administration building ours is going to look something massive like that they can rent out space and have all other types of wonderful things going on. I mean, you shouldn't send me to these types of meetings because I get really big ideas about what we can be. It was also fun to hear, what a great district that we have, and from outsiders, and how much they value us being part of this program, and also how wonderful the families are that we have here compared to the problems, it seems, that go on at a lot of other districts that sometimes I know that we feel burdened, but our burdens are very small compared to what other school board members are dealing with. I wasn't able to go to the CSBA conference, but I did watch online a number of the different parts of it, and you got excellent reviews from my colleagues. One of the highlights of this past month was the holiday party, to basically get in touch and talk with the teachers and how excited they were, and the administrators, and to see the people who won the awards. And again, well deserved. It was really fun to see Margaret up there, but it was just a fun time, and we need to do more of that. I'm also watching the new variant. It's very scary. It seems to be doubling at such a fast rate that we really need to encourage everyone to be vaccinated to protect the kids and hopefully not have to close down schools. I mean, it's just really, this new variant is just, we don't know where it's going to go, but we know that the numbers are just much faster than what the original COVID was. And so I urge everyone to be vigilant, particularly on holiday spirits. Where you're going, wear your mask, and take this all very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Member Vickers?
Yes, I want to thank our student reps for making the commitment to attend the conference, and the excitement that they share on having gone to that and being able to interact with other student board reps. I'm appreciative that they have taken it to that level. I'm thankful that we've almost completed the successful first semester, and that we have had very little cases in our district and among our students and our staff, and that we've been able to get back on track with our students and assess where they are and move forward from there, and meeting any extra needs that we find for bringing them up to speed. And then I want to also compliment the district on threat management. I think that's it's been alarming since the school year started across the country, and it's a dangerous tone that we've been seeing in many ways. But I think it makes it even more critical that I feel comfortable that we stay in connection with our police department, that we stay on top of threat analysis. And I know that it's a daily issue and a daily concern. So I want to recognize that. Thank you. And I am sorry that I've had to miss some things lately, not by choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Vickers. I think it's hard to follow all of you. And I can probably say ditto, which is what Kidda used to say. and I do want to thank the community and everyone for getting vaccines at the rate that they have. And hopefully everyone who is 6 months since your last vaccine has gotten your booster, is going to get your booster and schedule it. And we all hope that as everyone moves from this learning community into their holiday community, whether they're traveling or not, they'll get tested before they move into their next group of community. And then when they come back, they'll get tested before they move back into the learning community, because this variant is very different. And even people vaccinated are getting sick, even though it's milder. But we don't know what's going to bring in. So it takes us all to stick together, wear our masks. I like physical distance instead of social distancing. So we just keep a little physical distance where we can. And so really appreciate all of you, and and coming back, and the fact that it's almost the end of the semester. It's exciting. So in a little time, I'll pass it to you, Superintendent Report.
Thank you. I'll just make one comment regarding the universal TK, which continues to be a topic of conversation, especially for districts like ours that are community funded. We will see the governor's budget by the time we sit down next time, organized as a board. The governor's budget will have come out. So I'm hopeful that we'll see some identified funding so that it would allow all school districts in the state of California to offer universal transitional kindergarten. So we will all continue to send information to the board in regards to that. Obviously, Member Perry and Member Osborne were able to attend our Schools for Sound Finance lunch where they talked, that was one of the big topics. I think all the high school districts kind of tuned out, but the unified districts did not, and the elementary districts definitely did not. It was a very much talked about topic. There's a lot of consensus that this needs to be addressed. And my hope is that I just received a letter actually from SF Squared that had Connie Peter's name on it that was advocating for equal funding for all districts. So I think that's an important piece for us to have people at the state level advocating on our behalf. So I really do appreciate Connie doing that, and appreciate Member Osborne speaking with her as well about that. I know others have as well. So keep it up. We'll need to continue that message. So that's all.
Thank you. And then at this time, I'll be turning the meeting over to Dr. Valori, who will conduct the election for the board president for 2022.
I assume there's no public comment on 14A.
None received.
Okay, moving to 14B. This is the only time I run the meeting. So I will call for nominations for the position of president of the Board of Education, and upon election, I will turn the meeting over to that board president, who will continue with the elections and appointments and conduct the balance of the meeting. Ms. Normandin has served as president during the 2021 year. So with that, I will take any motions from the floor for president for next year.
I move to nominate Carol Normandin for board president.
I have a motion and a second. So we will vote on that motion. All in favor of Member Normandin serving as president for the 2022 year. Provisional vote, student? Sure, you can abstain.
I abstain.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Carries 4-1. Back to you, Carol.
Thank you all. This moves us to 14C. And is there a nomination for the position of clerk? Wait a second. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Natalie. Abstain again, or? Okay, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Did I hear everyone? I didn't hear. All in favor?
Aye. Ken, are you still there? Ken?
I'm here. I abstain.
Did you abstain, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. Aye. Okay. So 401. Okay. And then I can ask after. This is on there. President and the clerk are not here. Okay, so this moves us to 14D. And through our policies, the board appoints Dr. Valori as the secretary of the board. We don't have to really vote on that, do we? Because that's what our policy says. Okay, so we're appointing Dr. Valori as a secretary for the board. And then we're moving to 14E. And I thought instead of going through each one of these appointments, I could just find out, like, does anyone want a different committee, or does anyone want to change anything just in lieu of time? So is there anyone that wants to change their current committee role or would like a different committee role than what we have stated on here?
I wanted to see if anybody was interested in serving on Community Coalition.
On which one?
Community Coalition.
Are you interested in community coalition? Okay. And is there something else you want to serve on?
I'd like to continue serving as rep to School Power, the foundation.
Okay. but come off of the community coalition?
Correct.
Okay. And then is someone interested in serving on community coalition? Would you like to do that? Yeah, that's fine. If you want to make sure. Okay, so we can put Dr. Kelly in there. Does someone else want to be the alternative? I'm happy to continue to do that. But does anyone else want to? Okay, I can say, well, I can say alternative, and then we'll follow. We know who to follow up with. Okay, and then Jan, are you good with the committees that you're on, or is there anything you would like to be on?
I seem to have a conflict with PTA council now. But that's about the only thing I'm doing other than.
Okay, you'd like to continue to do that? Just a conflict. with
Pardon
PTA.
me?
Did you say you have a conflict with the?
Yes, I have had a couple times, so I'm just trying to be realistic going forward.
Okay. Would you rather be the alternative on that? Is what you're saying?
No, I just have, the time that they are meeting, the day is a conflict for me where it hadn't been before.
Is there someone interested in that? We can't really- Sure, your PTA council. Yes, the first part of it, and then we get off and they have their meeting. That's okay. Jim, and then Jan, did you want to stay as the alternative for Jim?
For which thing? For what?
Oh, she said no, PTA council, okay, for PTA council, okay. What time, okay, sorry, okay. Okay, and then I could stay on as alternate. Oh, are you alternate? Oh, would you like to remain the alternate, Kelly?
Yes, I'm happy to remain. Yeah, alternates. I have my.
Okay.
For clarification, does Member Vickers want to give up PTA council and have somebody else take it over? Okay. Okay, I just wanted to confirm because I wasn't sure what she was actually saying. Thank you. I'm happy to be the new representative's alternate. Who is going to be the new representative? Okay, I'm happy. Kelly and Kelly, the duo, happy to be the alternate.
Okay, and then all the rest are staying the same. Would you like me to read through them, or are we good with them staying just where they are? Again, not staying just where they are. Okay. Okay. So this takes us to 14F, which are the meeting dates. The proposed meeting dates are presented for review, discussion, and approval. Board members have had time to review the dates. Dates for follow a board policy. However, there are 2 dates the board needs to discuss and provide direction on. The dates are the second meeting in January, the August meeting. I'd like to also add the one in March and one in April. And so anyone else have any other meetings they want to discuss the dates on? And then we'll just go down the months. Does anyone else have any conflicts or concerns about any of the dates?
I already put mine in.
Here's the August. Okay. So then let's start on the January 20th and 25th. Is there a day that works better for the group, for the recognition? We could pick one.
It's on the 25th, not the 20th.
Okay, I think that. Okay. Then are we good with picking the 25th for January? Now you're looking at your calendar, Jim. We don't have to, we can wait a second.
So the 25th is a Tuesday, just to confirm. I know we put it on there to make sure you all know.
Well, that's good. And then the next is March. I was wondering if we could flip the March 10th and March 24th dates. So the March 10th would be the study session if needed. And March 24th would be the business meeting. And if we could just flip those two. Okay. So I have a conflict on the on the 10th. And then for April, 21st, that's Texas A&M's muster, which is a tradition where you honor people who've died. And so I'd like to pick a different day. I won't be here. But would the 28th work for April 28th? Okay. We're in spring break then on the 14th. Yeah. Or would Tuesday the 26th work, or even Tuesday the 19th? 20th, I know I'm kind of asking you guys too, because it. Okay. I can even do the 20th on Wednesday if it works. I just can't do the 21st. It's a global day, and does any of those days work? I know you're staring at your calendar. Good for any of them? Okay, you guys prefer the 19th or the 20th? So do Tuesday. Okay. Yeah. Oh, because city council. Yeah.
President Norman, none of our board bylaws state a time or a date that we meet. I just wanted to double check that it's not stated as a Thursday, 6 p.m. meeting. Okay, it's decided in this meeting.
Decided that.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what we do here.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to double check. Thank you.
It's stated, but not.
Has the authority to change the dates.
But that's what.
Because you're adopting it at the actual.
Edits to it.
So
Okay.
we try to keep our business meetings on Thursdays unless otherwise noted. So. Okay, so 19th, 26th, 20th, no one has it. Jan, do you have a preference for April?
You're asking me?
I am. Is there a
It's my, other than these couple interferences now, I just come when it's a meeting day. I don't have much else going on.
You have no problem with either of those, Jen?
I don't know, I have no plans, so I would say I have no problem.
Okay,
I don't travel.
fair enough, Jim. Okay, Jim, I'm looking at you. 19th fine? If I were to keep it in the same week then?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so if we could do April 19th instead of April 21st. And then we have August. So D, where's the preference for, it was August 11th or August 18th? For August 11th? And then July 14th, so that's a month, that's good enough time between. Does that work for everybody, August 11th?
When I did my calendar, we were looking mostly at the second and fourth Thursdays.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
that's our
See what-
plan.
Things, and that's why I might not be able to make this April 19th either, since we're changing. that
Oh,
one to-
I'm sorry,
So-
even the same way, okay. Okay.
There is a good point to go along with that, is that getting out the information to the community, we want to try to keep to the specific dates, day of the week as much as we can, so that they, as
Mhm.
far as what we communicate, then they know when board meetings are.
So is that, sorry, tell my calendar, so does that mean though, are we still talking about August or are we back to April?
I think we're talking about.
Okay, okay, so,
April. I think we're trying to August.
okay, so August 11th,
August 11th.
that's a Thursday, it's just, so it's the second Thursday, that,
Just as a parent that has kids out of school, I don't know if I'll be in town that week.
I know I won't be.
But you won't be here. Okay.
18th, and I did
Yeah.
plan around what we had said we were going to do.
so we try to stick with the.
Yeah,
agenda,
let's
so
go with the
what's our
11th. Dee's
plan?
already got a good plan. She got a good vacation. I want to go on your planned vacation.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
we all do.
Ooh, exciting. Okay. That's fine, Carol. President Norman.
And then, and so December 15th for the organizational meeting. Is good. Do we have to vote on that again in November anyways? Okay, so that's what it is. I'm thinking we have to say it now, but we vote on that. Okay. Right. For that particular one, it's dictated. There's legislation that dictates it, so it's a limited window. Okay. Okay, so is everyone good with those dates? Dave? Okay. Yay. Because I go look and I'm like, they're not there. Second. I didn't have anything on there for voting. Okay.
Aye.
Is it roll call? No? Okay.
Aye.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Jan? All in favor for the dates?
Yes,
Thank you. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. This brings us to 18A. The next regular scheduled business meeting will be held in person. Oh, where's that? No, where is- I don't have it.
This is simply the Aliso property option reminder that Jeff has a dollar bill in his office that we can purchase the Aliso school property in the year 2041 for $1.
Did you bring the dollar?
Ziploc bag, but it was very windy earlier.
Thank you, Jeff.
What was that? There's no vote. It's just a reminder and yeah, and then the last one is resolution number 01-02, which is a facilities repair and replacement program. And this was established back in February of 2001 with the intention and desire to continue the program year over year. So it's just a reminder that the board took that action at that juncture to create this set aside for future repair and replacement. And as Mr. Dixon pointed out, when it's raining and windy and we have very few leaks, that's a great example of why this works well. So those are the two reminders.
Thank you for doing that. I wonder where they went on my report. Okay, so now we're okay. So we're 15A. So the next regularly scheduled business meeting will be held in person, Thurston Middle School in the library on January 13, 2022. I have a motion, or I have to adjourn the meeting. Can I have a second? Thank you, Member Perry. As a reminder, BB 9200, when we adjourn, the board is no longer seated, and thus we have no individual authority until we're seated again. Natalie, may I have your vote to adjourn?
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay. Opposed? Approved. Motion carries 5-0. Everyone have a wonderful winter break. Meeting's adjourned at 8:15.